it's a lot harder to fix something when it's broke or obviously not firing properly than it is to prevent something from ever happening.
Welcome to Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Maxed Out Man podcast. I'm going to be here with Mark Gray. Super excited to talk to him. Before I get started, I wanted to remind you, go to maxedoutman.com, check out some of the stuff that we've got going on. I do have a couple of spots open for doing some coaching, mentoring, and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, go to maxedoutman.com, use that little coaching button at the top. You can fill out an application and we can see whether or not it's a good fit. But I'd love to have an opportunity to see what things would work. So I'm going to give Mark's background and then I'll let him fill in the rest. Mark has been a personal trainer since 2016. He's from Ireland, but currently in Barcelona. For almost a decade now, he's been helping clients live a healthier, happier, and higher quality of life. Since 2019, his focus as a coach has been on helping some of the finest entrepreneurs on the planet torch tons of body fat, develop next level muscle and strength, and most importantly of all, build a pain-free body, which I want to get into that pretty deeply and see what that's all about. His coaching business is called the Paradigm Project, and he helps ambitious entrepreneurs and professionals live a healthier, stronger, and all-around better life. Hey man, thanks so much for coming on board. I really appreciate it. It's funny because you're quite a bit younger than me, I'm sure. But we have a very similar background. I see you've got a bachelor in business, you certified personal trainer. So I have 2 degrees, one in exercise phys and one in business. I did the more the clinical route, ACSM, and all that, but I was a personal trainer earlier in my career. So it's kind of funny that we have, looking at all this, so much of that in common. So this will be a fun conversation. Thanks for coming.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I didn't know you were a coach. It's funny. It's funny the amount of people I speak to that like maybe run their own businesses or find themselves in the entrepreneurial world, and they tell me they used to be a coach. So maybe there's something in the water when it comes to coaching and entrepreneur.
Well, it's like we attract. You're kind of attracted to similar people. I think as entrepreneurs, I've run multiple businesses for 25 years, and as a kind of in that space and in the fitness space, it's like, just like in, people that are more computer oriented or whatever, it seems like you kind of attract like people, right? It seems to be the way that it goes. But would you do me a favor? Let's fill in. I always like to get the backstory of our guests so that we can lay the context and kind of see like, okay, well, this is kind of where I've been. This is what I've seen and done. And this is kind of how I got to where I am today. So that just helps lay the foundation and the context for us.
Amazing. Cool. Well, like you said, sorry, I originally from Ireland, moved over to London like 10 years ago or 2015, something like that. And had no idea what I wanted to do. I did, like you said, I've got a bachelor of business, but it was partnered with sports. So I did sports for a couple of years, did my typical 6-week personal training course as part of my degree, thought I was the man after doing that, as you do after that 6 weeks. And moved over to London, had no idea what I wanted to do. Kind of forgot, to be honest, that I had a personal training certificate, and found myself selling some like credit building credit cards for like 2 hours. I went over, I did the interview, I got the job, zero experience in sales, completely introverted. So the thought of doing a script and all that sort of stuff with people on the side of the road in a busy London street was absolute hell. And I think I lasted about 2 hours in the job, didn't speak to a single person, and then just slowly walked away without telling the team I was with, and just backed up and then just walked off and got the tube. Never spoke to anyone in the business. But I've told this story before. On the way home, I was going to King's Cross Station. I walked past a fitness, Anytime Fitness. I think you have them in America as well. And it said personal trainer wanted. And I was like, I got that certificate. So I went in and chatted to the manager, and I was like, what's that job I see in the front? He goes, personal trainer, 0 contract hours. And I was like, cool, I'll do it. And then that was it. And then I haven't looked back since. So, it's quite a funny story on how I got started. But then from there, I've just been self-employed PT for the last like 8-9 years. And I've worked in some really awesome gyms as a self-employed coach. And I went to work in Equinox, which I know you have in the States as well. And we only have a few of them in England and London. I was very fortunate to get a coaching role in there. And that's when I kind of had my eyes opened up to the kind of broader picture when it comes to entrepreneurs and just high level professionals and that sort of stuff and what they need and the level of attention that this is not to say that they need more or less than just like your regular kind of Joe soap as such, far from it. But there are little different intricacies that you need to work with. And then that's when I went down the route of pain-free performance and helping people with their injuries, typically because I had more injuries than you count on hands and toes and all that sort of stuff, which most coaches do, which is quite ironic. And that's just been I'm not going to sound cheesy and say my calling, all that sort of stuff, but that's what my passion is. My passion is helping people escape pain because I've been in that position. If you were coaching in the past, you obviously still work out. I'm sure you've dealt with your fair share of niggles and injuries and all that sort of crap on a fairly consistent basis. It's just that we're good at getting around things. Whereas the individual that isn't educated on that front, it can have a really big debilitating impact on their life. And especially if they're trying to run businesses and provide for teams and just live a good quality of life. I always say you can have as much money in the world, have the best experiences and cars and watches and dinners, whatever it is, travel. But if you don't have your health and you don't have like a fully functioning body, all that becomes a bit obsolete. So yeah, pain-free performance is a passion of mine, and just helping people just get back some resemblance of normal life, because we're not here for a very long time. I'm not trying to sound bleak, but every kind of year that goes past, and month and year, and you're in backs and pieces and you can't lift your arm up to raise your child up off the ground, or you can't run with your kids and all that sort of stuff. It wears thin on you. So that's where I'm at.
For sure. I want to dig into more of the pain-free performance, but it's interesting that you say these aches and pains and all that. I joke, and I think I started working out with weights maybe when I was 14 or something. So my joke is I've literally been sore for like 35 years. So like, it's just, it's kind of part of it. But my wife in particular she kind of just suffers with a lot of injuries, and we're tracking it down to more of a fascia issue, and we're concentrating more on eccentric motion for tendon strength and all of that stuff. I typically, like I said, I repair kind of quickly, but I know so many people do. And to your point, like I just can't imagine going through life with a, pain, carrying an extra 50 pounds or anything like that. Like I've said on the podcast before, when if I have a week or 2 weeks for whatever reason, I can't work out, or if I'm traveling and eating, less than great food, and then you just feel like crap, right? Like for those of us that are in this space, we feel pretty good most of the time. But when you eat crap, and I'm like, do people feel like this all the time? Like, is that, and how do they not know this is not normal? But talk to me about the difference with, and I agree with you. I think entrepreneurs typically are so driven with business and products and those kind of things, but they don't have the same drive when it comes to their health. What have you found? Like, is that what you have found in particular? What kind of makes that differentiation between entrepreneurs and kind of the Joe Schmo, so to speak? Yeah.
Yeah. And I did some content this last week, but one of the big things with entrepreneurs is that all or nothing mindset. I'm sure you've heard it before. I'm sure you're well aware of it, in that's what makes them so successful in their business entrepreneurial world, is that they'll move heaven and earth to do whatever they need to do for their business, as in they're all or nothing. But then they have that same mindset typically with their health. So it's that case of, if I can't go to the gym for what I perceive to be what's needed, or as in like perfect, then there's just no point in me going. If I can't eat this, like if I can't eat that perfect meal whenever I need it, then what's the real point? If I can't sleep enough, what's the point? And that's what I've found has been quite like, not troublesome as such, but that's been one of the issues I've found with a lot of people I speak with when I was in the gym, on the gym floor, and now online, and then with my coaches, with my clients, is that kind of mindset. So it's about trying to work around their unique lifestyle as much as you possibly can, because whatever you can say about it, that you can have like a nurse, for instance, who can bust their butt for 12 hours a day and do a hell of a gruesome shift. And then you can have an entrepreneur that does similar kind of hours, but there's different factors, as in, I'm going to say stress, because a nurse has obviously a lot of stress, but like decision making, stress management, sleep, their nutrition, there's all these different things that you just need to try and get them on board with. And it's not a quick fix. It's not never tell anyone when they start with me, you have to do 10,000 steps, because you get a lot of these people that are doing like 2,000 or 3,000 steps a day because they're at the desk 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So it's trying to get them, just slowly build them up. And I tell all my clients this, or the people I speak with, we're not looking for massive progress straight away. This is a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year project, in the same way that it was with your business. Is that you looked at your business and you were like, do you know what? The first few years are probably going to be a bit crap, but after that, I'll start making money, or I'll start growing, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to look at your health and fitness the same way, through that same lens. Now, you can achieve amazing things in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. But you need to have that mindset of solidifying those things. And it's, as cliche as it is, it's all about lifestyle changes and just getting, it's getting them to buy into the story, or the product as such, which is their health, which, like you said, a lot of them just don't see as a priority, and they often sacrifice their health for their business. And yeah, so it's just about trying to get them down a different road.
Yeah, because for a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, it's and I like how you put that, which is we're very regimented with what we do, and we don't realize that it is a process. And I like how you communicate. It's similar as a business, right? When you're growing a business, it takes a while. You do different things, and you keep doing those things, and that fitness is the same way. And like you said, you can do, if you have a short-term goal, like I've done 12-week cuts, and we've all done that, we kind of cutting body fat or whatever, but you have to have a plan after that, whenever, whether you hit that goal or not, you have to have a plan that moves you forward and goes long-term for sure. And it's kind of funny, because if you really look at entrepreneurs and small business owners, and really anybody, it's like, things have not changed that much in our field over the last, 60 years, right? Like, it's still calories in, calories out, move, healthy food. Like, it's not complicated.
Nope.
But we still can't get people to be fitter. Like, we just keep getting fatter as a society in general. Why do you think that is? Like, what is it that's driving people? Is it busyness? Is it like they don't care? Is it they don't know any better? I'm just curious your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it's all those things. And it's quite funny you said this, because I put out a post on LinkedIn like 3 or 4 hours ago, and it was literally like, if you want to transform your health, do these things. And it was walk 10,000 steps, go to the gym 3 days a week, sleep 7 hours, eat 80% good foods. And then at the end, it was like health doesn't have to be complicated. Like it's it is the most simple thing in the world. Like a calorie now was a calorie 100 years ago. Lifting weights has been shown to obviously have more benefits than you could count on your hands and feet. I think a lot of it comes down to priorities and just not prioritizing it. And like I said, the priority is business and family life and all that sort of stuff. But my job as a coach, and I say this, is that you can go online, and especially now with AI and ChatGPT, and you can have all the information you could possibly want at your fingertips. You can find these, like you could find a decent program online. It might not be customized to you, but here with the advances on AI, you probably can get them customized to you at the now. You can find out everything you need about nutrition, sleep, all that sort of stuff. Like the information we have at the moment is just outrageous. But my main job as a coach is implementation, is teaching my clients strategies that they can then use to implement. Because what works for one person might not work for another. If it's whether that's their workouts, maybe they can only get to the gym for half an hour twice a week. It's like, cool, let's adapt the plan for that. But, and obviously then, yeah, you said about being busy. People's schedules are busier than ever at the moment. Like people talk about work-life balance and all that sort of stuff, where something that exists for a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people I know anyway. And yeah, so business has a big part of it. But I do think the main one is just priorities. I've had a very, very good client of mine who runs multiple very, very, very successful businesses. He's the busiest man I know. He's also the hardest working man I know. But this guy trains on average probably 5 days a week. And when he came to me, he wasn't training at all. Still very successful, but he had a shift in mindset, and he realized that he just needed to do something about his health. Like he was in the position where he's like, right, I need to do something about it. So instead of being below like family, business, bloody dog, car, house, other house, it was right, let's jump. It jumped all the way up here. And that's the outlook I try to get people to look at, because if you have your health as number one, and I say in all my content is like, it's the most selfish thing you can ever do is like prioritize your health. Like if it's a thing of, now I'm not saying leave your child at the school gate to go to the gym. That's a bit different. There are limits, but like you have to do something for your health, whether that's training 2 or 3 times a week, going for your runs, stretching, meditating, whatever it is. You have to make it number one, because then it trickles down. Trickles down, it then you impacts your business positively, your family life, your relationships, all that sort of stuff, your mood, your confidence, your energy, everything is positively impacted. So yeah, it has to be number one in my eyes. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it with myself every day and the impact it has on me, but then I've seen it with clients. I've seen clients make more money, open new businesses, all because they've just made their health their number one priority, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the foundation for everything, right? Like you're and a lot of people, I've heard it said, it's like you'll either make it a priority now or you're going to make it a priority later, but it's different kinds, right? Like you're in preventative now, and then it becomes a priority later when they're trying to keep you alive and manage your pain and all these different things, or maybe just drop dead, right? That's that changes your whole priority list. But you know, that becomes the foundation for performance in everything, you know, like business and your personal mindset, your relationships, your ability to show up for your kids. You know, we used to do this thing when my girls were younger. One of them was on the cross country team, and we played this like it's basically called Fox and Hound. And so you have one person that runs, and then that's the fox, and then the rest of the team are the hounds, and they try to catch the fox. And I was probably in my, I don't know, mid-30s, late 30s at this time, and it was so cool for me because I could play the fox, and the kids, these 12 to 14-year-old girls would have a hard time catching me, right? And so like those little moments are important for her as my daughter, but also for me to say, look, that's a win for me from a fitness standpoint. And if I was not taking care of my health, I'd be sitting on the sidelines or, not able to participate. And I think so many people miss that, but making it that priority is so critical, for sure. And like you said, it all starts with mindset, right? And priorities. Yep. Your client that obviously has a packed schedule just does these blocks of time, which I do as well. I block out up to from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when my wife and I work out together.
Awesome.
We just block that out. We do our walk, we have some breakfast, we do our weights and hit, and then we sit in the steam room together and all these different things. But I know, I can't schedule if you look at my calendar, when we tried to schedule this podcast, it started at 10:15. Right. And I know we had some different scheduling things that we dealt with, but it starts at 10:15 because I block that out. And I know that makes me better at everything else that I do in my life.
Mm-hmm. No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Like it's quite funny you're saying about running around your kids. I've always said my number one goal, the main reason I train is when I was younger, obviously I trained like everyone did, bigger arms, that sort of stuff. You want to look good. And obviously as you get older, your priorities change. But I've always said is that my goal is to be that like really jacked granddad that brings his grandkids to the gym. And he's not only able to show them what to do, but then he's able to outlift them.
Yeah.
And that's the vision I have in my head of just where I want to be at.
Yeah.
Because like 70-year-olds now, or definitely in 10, 20, 30 years time, is not what the majority of like 70, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds were like 40, 50 years ago. So yeah, it's just quite funny you said that. But yeah, it's a big thing. It's prevention. It's obviously I try to fix people's injuries and pain and get them strong as they've ever been. And it's a lot harder to fix something when it's broke or obviously not firing properly than it is to prevent something from ever happening. Yeah. So it's like if you get a car, if you get like a really nice car and you treat it like crap and you run it around the streets and you don't wash it and you don't pump the tires and you don't put the right gas in it and that sort of stuff, it's going to perform crap. Whereas you get your car and you treat it nice and you clean it and you put the nice premium stuff in it and that sort of stuff, it's going to last a hell of a lot longer and you won't have to bring it into the mechanics and spend all this money fixing it. And that's how I like to look at the body and your health.
Yeah. And it performs better all along the way, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in fitness and health, we concentrate on the like either or mentality, which is like either you die early or you don't, and it really is like, that's not what we want. We want a healthy body. Like I want to drop dead fit, right? Like that's my goal. And it could, both my grandparents lived to be well, over 100. And so like, if that's 105, it's at 110 for me, whatever that is, depending on science and everything. Like I want to be that grandpa, like you're talking about, to be fit. And honestly, I'm 51. And because I work out and eat right and all these things, I begin to see that huge separation when you get to your 50s. Yeah. Right. Like there are not a lot of fit guys at my age, unfortunately. And it's terrible. There's a guy on TikTok that actually has this, like, how to show your neighborhood you're the alpha dad. And he's like got his shirt off. He's got these little like 3-inch inseam shorts. And he's like doing walking barbell lunges up and down his street. So it's brilliant. Like that's how you set the tone for your neighborhood, right? You actually said in the bio that you sent me that you don't like the term holistic, right? But I think that's and I want to hear why you don't like it. I use that term quite a bit because it means to me, and I'd love to hear your take on it, but it means to me that, health, fitness, nutrition, rest, sleep, mindset, all of those things kind of combined. So I want to kind of hear your take on that. And I also want to say one of the things that we don't do is prioritize rest. I'm super guilty of this. Like I've really been working at this for the last probably 6 months or so, and really focusing on rest and recovery, because I'm just like, my family calls me a robot because I can just barrel my way through life, and for whatever reason I can continue to do it. So kind of that I just dropped a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm curious about your approach for holistic and full body and all of that.
Yeah, well, with the term holistic, it's not like I don't have anything against it. It's more just, it's one of those buzzwords as such. That's all it is. I'm completely on board. It's like, that's why I said I don't like the term holistic, but it's how you would describe my coaching and my approach. So it's more just the kind of word itself, because it's like bespoke, that sort of thing. That's like thrown around by everyone. Bespoke training program, bespoke, like
concept, you're supposed to sound fancy. Like, just use the word custom, right? Just like for you.
So that's all it is. Yeah, it's nothing against the actual what holistic stands for. It's just more the term. But that's exactly how I approach everything. When I was a younger coach, obviously naive, and you just want to bang weights and that sort of stuff, which is cool. And that's how I used to train myself. And to be honest, that's what probably most like young fellas do, is you go in, you bang your weights, and you don't really care about much of the other stuff. And it's not until you start working with people on a deeper level and you realize what they need, and especially now with the type of clients I work with, you need to have a broader approach. And that's where the holistic thing comes in. Their sleep is obviously enormous in how their body's working, and their mindset. So sleep, mindset, and the other one just rolled off the top of my head. And stress management. So they all intertwine into one, but they're some of the big things that I work with clients. And you would know yourself as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've got some buddies as well, is that stress is something that a lot of people manage. And everyone has stress in their life. You need it, but it's how you manage it that dictates obviously a lot of the results and progress that you're going to make, not just with your health and your physique, but obviously business and relationships and the social side of things and all. And that's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs just kind of ignore, is the impact that stress has on them. And it's not just the stress in the here and now. It's not like, oh, I've had a busy day at work and the wife is annoying me and I'm stressed. It's weeks and months of like high pressured projects. Maybe they're trying to get a new product out in 6 months, and it's just bang, 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 bang. And it's constant stress and stress and stress. And they don't realize it because they're in it and they're able to handle it. But then 3 months down the line, they go into the gym and they slip a disc, or their shoulder, they bang up their shoulder, or whatever it is, or they hurt their knee running. And they think it's just coincidence, but it's because of the impact. Like, it's not just the stress, but the stress has a big, big role to play. And that's where you need to look at the body with, that holistic approach, and just get that 360 view of what different elements can we work on, not all at once. Let's take things one chunk at a time. So then we can just get the body working back to that kind of more homeostasis state. So everything's working as one. But it's massively important. And then what was the second thing you asked me? It's kind of left my mind.
That's a good question. I was listening to what you were saying. I think making it a priority, and I'm curious about the methodology that you're talking about. But I did want to point out what you were saying. I had a friend of mine, Justin Roslingshofer, who was on the podcast, is a good friend of mine. But he talks about that our bodies really can't tell the difference between physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental stress, right? Like, all of those things to the body pretty much has the same effect. So to your point about if you're, got a long project or any of that kind of stuff, that emotional stress pretty much has the same fight or flight response in our system. So cortisol and, all of that stuff. My wife actually went through a series where she had severe back pain, like just like crazy back pain. And we chased it forever, stem cells and, PT, and every time she went to PT, it got worse and all this stuff. And so we read this book called Healing Your Back Pain by Dr. Sarno, which I highly recommend. It sounds super woo-woo, right? Like it sounds, super woo-woo sciencey stuff, but what he showed is that basically people's back pain is often completely related to stress. I've been super blessed to be able to feed into the lives of tons of men from all around the world and all walks of life. And I'm very excited to announce that I do have a couple of spots available right now. If you're interested in working with me, and we can talk about pretty much anything: marriage, business, fitness, parenting, being a dad, dogs, cars, whatever you want to talk about, I'm available to do that. We want to focus on the things that may be most beneficial to you and some things that you may not even know would be beneficial to you. You've listened to the podcast, you kind of know my style. If you are interested in working with me, I want to try to make it as simple as possible, but I also want to make sure we're a good fit. Send an email to coaching@maxedoutman.com and just give me 2 pieces of information: why you would like to work with me and what that might mean for you, what things you would hope to accomplish by meeting with me. That'll kick off the process. I'll reach back out to you. We can jump on a call and see whether or not it would be a good fit. So go to maxedoutman.com, coaching@maxedoutman.com. Send me an email with those 2 pieces of information, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And I hope it is, and I hope that we can actually connect.
Yep.
So, and they actually they have some sort of injury, then every time they get stressed, it kind of gets deposited, and that pain is your body's response to that. But it's 100% mental. So she read this book, did some of what it was talking about, and she was effectively back pain free after
Amazing.
6 years of chasing it. So you can find that book on Amazon. He's since passed away, but he still has a team. But it was pretty amazing to see that. But all that to say, I don't think we realize, especially as entrepreneurs and small business people, the effect of all of that on our physicality.
No, it's huge. And I've seen it with a few clients recently in the last probably 6 to 12 months. They've been either opening new businesses or just on top of big projects. And that constant stress, just day in after week after month. And then when they finally finish it, they just get this enormous onset of fatigue, fatigue like you wouldn't imagine. And it's just because their body's just been getting pounded. It's fight or flight. It's always just that stress level is just high. And then it's not until they finish and they realize that what they've went through is it's like an ordeal as such. And it's the same way as if you are going through physical stress or, like you said, emotional, spiritual, it all pretty much has the same impact. And yeah, and that's why it's quite funny again, actually, because I've put 2 LinkedIn posts today, and the one before that.
And I wasn't stalking your LinkedIn. This wasn't planned, right?
No. And the first one I did was I was like, if you're stressed, just do something simple, like breathe in through your nose for 5.5 seconds, out for 5.5 seconds. Do that for 10 minutes, and you'll instantly feel better. And it's little tactics like that I think can just really help out those high pressured entrepreneurs, like you said, small business owners, anyone, to be honest, anyone that's just dealing with stress, just so they can bring themselves back to just kind of a more normal state, and then they can go again. Because I'm very well aware that you're not going to stop the stress. You're not going to reduce it in their day-to-day kind of workday and all that sort of stuff. So it's, how can we manage it? And that's the same with their workouts. I'm really big on the type of workouts they get or the exercise I give them. Always make sure that it doesn't fry them too much from a central nervous system viewpoint. It's I'm not going to give the vast majority of my clients crazy HIIT workouts, because I don't want to fry them with these super intense things that just exhaust them. We do that through weights, but you can control it a bit more with weights. Whereas certain exercises, obviously, you can absolutely fry the brain, and you're stressed and an already stressed body and mind and that sort of stuff. And that just increases the chances then of something going wrong, lifting a bit incorrectly, or, like I said a few minutes ago, some sort of injury or pain occurring. And yeah, like you said with your wife, your mind has such a big part to play when it comes to pain and injuries, is that if you think you're hurt, you'll be hurt. And you'll be in the gym and you're like, oh, my shoulder's sore, it's going to hurt on this rep. But if you go into these situations feeling a bit more confident in how you move and that sort of stuff, and not being as stressed helps that, then you're more likely to move better and just use your body in a way that probably won't get you hurt, or your pain just won't be as high. So how we perceive things is also very, very important.
Yeah, I have this like mantra that when I'm going through stuff, I repeat to myself, I am the boss of my body. My body is not the boss of me.
Like that.
It's like, you know, and that mindset is like, okay, yes, I have pain. You know, I had a motorcycle injury a long time ago. My shoulder just gets a little kinky whenever I do overhead press, but I can still do it, and I can still throw up a lot of weight, and I don't injure myself. But, you know, obviously I know the form, but like that mindset of I'm, you know, oh, I'm tired. This workout's going to suck. Right. Like that's, well, guess what? Your workout is going to suck. Right. Like if you say that, but if you're like, yeah, I didn't sleep that great last night, but I'm going to use this workout to energize me. I'm going to use this workout to forward my progress and those things, then that typically has a big one, you know, to your point about stress and modifications, and that as an entrepreneur, I'm like, go, right? Like, so I was doing cold plunges, and we're doing them all the time. And at our house, the water comes out of the tap at 50 degrees. So we're not talking about like weird Joe Rogan 34 degrees stuff, but that's cold. Like 50 degrees is still cold.
Yeah.
But what I learned is instead of having this, oh, I have to do this every day, it's going to be good for me, is I started to realize, and had some help with this, but I started to realize that there are days like when you just don't sleep right, or your body's already under a lot of stress, that you need to skip that, because just like with HIIT, right? Like you don't want to put additional stress. It's not going to help you.
No. And it's the same as like to-do lists and all that sort of stuff, and morning routines. They're awesome. Like I have like, I don't call it a morning routine, but like I go to the beach every morning and I swim. I say swim, I lay in the water for like 3 minutes with my dog. And I have like a certain few things. I get back, I make a coffee, and I write out like my tasks for the day, all that sort of stuff. But it's once you put pressure to do that sort of stuff, then you kind of lose the benefits of it. So it's the same way as you, if you're saying you're doing cold plunge every morning, and you're like, I have to do cold plunge. But then on the day we go like, you know what, I'm not just feeling it, but then you're like, oh, I have to do it. Then you can lose some of the benefits. Whereas if you just listen to your body and your mind, and you're like, you know what, I don't actually, like, it might be more beneficial for me to give it a miss. And the same with your workouts, or modify. And this kind of all goes back to what I said at the start with that all or nothing mindset, is that you, like, I just know speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs and that type is when they inevitably get Spanish thrown the work. Obviously, it's like, oh, you have to work till 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever it is, or X, Y, and Z has happened that stopped them getting to the gym. Okay, you can't get your 60-minute session in. So they're like, just sack it off. And then something else happens tomorrow, sack it off. And it's Wednesday. And you're like, oh, do you know what? I'll just come back Monday. And I had that with clients in the gym when I was working back in London. I'd get the message, can't make it again today, running late, got meetings to do. And then like, oh, I'll just catch you on Monday. And instead of being like, just come in and don't train with me and just do 20 minutes. If you only make 20 minutes, do your 20 minutes. And it's about being able to pivot. And that's the issue. That's what a lot of people, unless you're educated on all this stuff and you've been working out for quite a long time, you got that experience, is that's the biggest skill that a lot of people lack, is the ability to pivot their plan and go, right, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I can't do that anymore. Or maybe it's not as beneficial. What can I do instead? So instead of my hour, let me just go home and do like 3 sets of squats, push-ups, and lunges, and like some planks. And you know what? It's not as good as maybe one it was going to do, but it keeps my momentum going, and it still moves me closer to where I want to be. And that's where that long-term project mindset comes into play. It'd be different if you had something to be ready for in 12 weeks. You'd be like, I got to bust my ass to get to the gym. So, being able to adapt and move, but yeah, it all comes down to your mind.
Yeah, I learned that pretty hard. I did a 12-week, so about a year and a half ago, I did a 12-week cut just to kind of prove that I could do it at 50, and got down pretty low. And then I did another one about, 4 months ago. but it was really old school. It was kind of this old school mentality, which is like, cut calories pretty drastically, 6 days a week of weights, 5 days a week of cardio, all this stuff. And about 7 weeks in, my body was just like, nope. I'm just going to stop losing body fat, right? Like I'm just done. And I was freaking exhausted. Every workout kind of sucked and I'm just kind of powering through it. But it's just like very old school mentality. And so I was like, I got to take a break from this. And then I started prioritizing rest. I cut my weight training back. I focused more on mindset and breath work and recovery and all that. And then all of a sudden, this won't be a surprise to you, but body fat started dropping off, right? Like it's just like, and I feel 1,000% better. I wear the Aura ring and my numbers. Yeah, there you go. My numbers were better. My HRV is better. My, readiness score and sleep score, everything improved. And so that is like, can you just walk through some of that methodology that you use? And what I'm trying to do is I want to talk to like the younger guys, this like 18 to 30, and then some of the guys that are more my age, right? Like how would you program or recommend, and you don't have to give away any trade secrets or anything, but how do you recommend that these guys work their nutrition, exercise, rest, all of these things? And does it vary between those two age groups?
Yeah, it does. It does definitely vary because you'd be silly to think otherwise. Because when you're 18, like I'm 33 now, and it's only recently in the last few years I've realized that I can't recover as well as I did when I was in my mid-20s. My body just can't take the pounding. Still recover very well, but it's not like you can go into the gym and just lift weights 7 days of the week, which you could do 6 days and then a little bit of a rest on a Sunday. And I was playing sports 3 or 4 days a week as well. But yeah, so you do have to approach it a bit differently. When you're younger, you don't need as much rest, or you can afford to not get as much. As you age, your recovery and your rest days become just as important as your training sessions. So like if you could train 3 days a week and rest for 4, if you're over the age of like 35, 40, that'd be perfect for most people. Now, there's a lot of people that will train 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and that's cool because they're more experienced and they have the know-how around it. But yeah, I think for anyone kind of my age and over, I think if you can train with weights 3 days a week, you'll be doing amazing. Throw in some cardio there as well, just to keep the heart healthy. And yeah, nutrition, like nutrition, like I said earlier on, it's simple, as in like your health and fitness things are simple. It's implementing that's hard. And it's just keeping things as simple and basic as you possibly can. People say, I don't want boring nutrition. And that's cool. But in my opinion, if you want to be like successful with your nutrition, and you see this with like all the top like bodybuilders and athletes and celebs, all that sort of stuff, they have like kind of repeated meals because they have like people cooking them in meals, or they just prep them themselves. And that's one of the biggest tips I can give anyone that's trying to make their nutrition a bit healthier, or a bit easier, is just try and have as many repeated meals as you can. I am super boring with my nutrition, and I'm sure you probably have similar things as well. Maybe you don't, but I know it's quite common with a lot of people I know that just kind of takes the gym and that sort of stuff serious. Is like I eat the same thing for breakfast most days of the week. My lunch is very similar as well. But I just know that gets me where I need to be. And then I have a bit more flexibility. I don't eat the same dinner every day of the week. We change that up most days. So that's one of the biggest tips I'd give anyone, is just try and have repeated meals. And then when it comes to entrepreneurs and people just busy, you're in the office or you're just at home, but more so if you're in the office, is make sure you have access to quick, easy meals that are nutritious. So and the thing with anything is that there's always a kind of feeling out stage, and the start of any project, whether that's your health or your business, is always a bit harder. It's slow, it's tedious, it's a bit boring, it's a bit like, why do I have to do this? But then as you get through things with time, it becomes easier. Same with your nutrition is like, you might have to list out all the local restaurants that do like nutritious meals, or you might have to find the local shops that do somewhat macro friendly snacks and quick takeaway foods and that sort of stuff. So little things like that make a big difference, but that all circles back to priorities. Like if you prioritize it, you do it. If you don't, you'll half-ass it and you won't put the effort into it.
Yeah, fit people are boring, right? Like that.
So boring.
I mean, like we go to bed at the same time. I just switched about once a year. I switch to a different breakfast, but I will literally eat the same breakfast every day for a year. And it drives my wife crazy because she's like, I can't believe you can have the same thing. And I will typically, like, if a couple of days ago, I made these like ground turkey nuggets, right? Which are like chicken nuggets, but they're just ground turkey. They're not breaded or anything. And so I'll eat that and rice, throw in some fruits or vegetables for like the whole week. Like, because I make enough for the whole week and we do meal prep. And it's funny because, to your point, when my wife, she likes a lot more variety. For me, food is an annoyance. Like it's just fuel to me. Like I don't really get a ton of, I just don't worry about it that much. But she likes to get fancy when she does her meal prep. And she's like, I'm going to make this cool recipe and all that. And I'm like, 15 minutes later, I've meal prepped for 2 weeks and she's still cutting the vegetables for her meal prep. But yeah, and as far as like one of our rules is always, so when we go into town, it's about a 30-minute drive. We kind of live out in the country. And so if she's going to run errands, one of the things that she learned is I have to take water with me and I have to take food. Right. Because if something gets delayed or anything like that, she has her food in a cooler. She may not eat it till she gets back because the timing goes, but she's not left with, I'm so hungry, I have to go buy something to eat. And typically when we're like that, we don't choose well. we choose easy and fatty and salty and which is fine occasionally, but some of those rules are really important as well. Could you just describe what is a pain-free performance specialist? Like you actually have a certification in that, and it's something I'm not actually familiar with, but I can you just walk through some of that and how somebody might be able to find if they're, they obviously online, they can get with you, but if there's someone locally they're looking for, what is that all about?
Yeah, well, I did. So like I said, if you do your usual 6-week thing and then you PT for a few years, and then just started to see a bit of a trend amongst the people I was meeting in the gym. Now, first gym I was in with London was just kind of a normal local gym, but you met still like a lot of interesting people doing really cool, like very successful jobs in London. And I had quite a few clients like that. I just started seeing a bit of a trend amongst them. And a lot of that trend was injuries. Now, nothing major because they were all able to come to the gym. There was some more like, I'm not talking like slip discs and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking, and the thing is, most of the people and injuries I work with, they're all like what you might say are minor, but cause enormous annoyance and frustration to people. And that's what I started to see amongst a lot of the people I was working with, like just a sore knee so they couldn't squat properly, or it stopped them running, or their shoulder was sore so they couldn't put their jacket on without pain, or they couldn't lift their kids up or throw the ball, and they couldn't bend over because their back was sore all the time. Things like that. And I was like, right, I don't really know what to do with these people. So then I went off and I did my corrective exercise specialist with National Academy of Sports Medicine over in the States. I didn't go over, I did it online. And then when I went to Equinox, I said in 2019, I think it was. Yeah, 2019. I was lucky enough to do a course with John Rusin, who is awesome. You might know him, but he runs the PPSC, with Pain Free Performance Specialist certification. He came over from the States. He taught like 15 or 16 of us. We were the first people in the UK to get the qualification. And it's quite funny, actually, is when we were in the room, there was like like 15, 20 coaches, all like super fit, some of the best coaches you'll find in the UK and in London. And he asked us, like, how many people in this room are in pain at the moment?
Everyone.
Every single coach lifted their hand. And I've told this story before, and I've told clients and all that. And it's like, because coaches are oftentimes just the worst people to take their own advice. But it's just a thing that like most people deal with. So yeah, so long story short, pain-free performance specialist, like it is how you approach things, like just approach your actual workout itself, how you prep the body and your warm-ups and all that sort of stuff. And it's a lot of it is about building people up that have been like broken as such. Mm-hmm. I mean, like maybe they got a bad back, or building up people that have no injuries and getting them to a position where they can successfully like navigate certain movements. Like, as I was a PT in the gym floor for like 5 or 6 years, so I did my hours, but I can't tell you how many times like I've seen coaches do things with their clients where I'm just like biting my back teeth, or like making me cringe, like they're getting someone that can clearly not move and getting them straight in, like first exercise 40 kilos on a back squat when they could probably not do a single body weight squat. And I'm seeing all these different things going wrong, and I'm like, oh god. And part of the education and knowledge I have is obviously, which to be honest, most decent coaches will have, is just how to move people through the pyramid movement so then they can move successfully and pain-free through all these different movements, so then they can become as strong and fit and mobile and all this sort of stuff, or to the best of their ability. So it's not just about helping people eliminate their pain, it's also making sure that people never or drastically reduce their chances of actually getting pain as such. And it's just a really smart approach, just being smart with your approach to being a coach and just not being a dick as such. But yeah, it's taught me a lot. And part of the reason was obviously to help myself, because I've had, like most people that go to the gym, bum shoulder for ages, and like even to this day, like I'll get the odd little thing in my shoulder when I do like a bench. Like I don't use the barbell, for instance, barbell bench press anymore. I haven't for years, just because it doesn't fit me. Never has. I don't feel comfortable. But I do dumbbells. So I did all that sort of stuff in the first place to kind of help myself, but then obviously with the viewpoint of helping my clients. And it's the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is pain, because they're stressed, their sleep isn't great, they don't move well, nutrition's not great, so they have all these injuries. So if you can fix those injuries, Jesus, what the hell is that going to do to their productivity and their confidence and their mood and all that sort of stuff? So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I could go into more of the boring kind of programming and that sort of stuff, but it's just being smart with how you, and kind of thoughtful with how you program stuff for people.
Yeah. I'm pretty encouraged because I'm seeing more coaches and trainers like yourself who are approaching this in a way for longevity, right? Like I was saying, that old school, just get in there and rip it out, cut your calories, cut your carbs, way too much protein, all that stuff is not necessarily something that is sustainable. If you're going to do a show, like if you're going to do a bodybuilding show, I've said on the podcast before, if you have a bodybuilder that you don't like, just wait till they're about 2 weeks out from their bodybuilding show, and then you can completely kick their ass because they can barely move. They have no energy. They've been eating chicken breast for the last 3 weeks straight. But that's not a sustainable lifestyle. So I'm pretty encouraged by what you've got going on, and being able to educate people, especially entrepreneurs, as one. I have a heart for them, and I want to help them, with their marriage and with their family and with their business and longevity and all those things. And so this fitness component is so important and so critical. So I'm super excited that you've come here.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, just to reiterate your point, it's so important. And like I was writing down some notes yesterday, and I was like, why do I actually work? Or not, if someone asks me like, why do I work with entrepreneurs? Because I've had it before in the past where people assume you work with entrepreneurs and like business owners and high level professionals because you're after money. I was like, it's far from the point, is that because everyone deserves a coach,
Mhm.
whether you're bloody a nurse or you take out the bins or you run a 100 million pound business, whatever it is, like everyone deserves a coach. But the fitness industry is a lot of industries, but the fitness industry especially is riddled with like a lot of garbage. Because you, like I said earlier on, 6-week course and you can be a PT. And the age of TikTok and Instagram is you actually don't need a course anymore to be a PT, to be an online coach. Like you could just lift weights for a year, 6 months. If you're a woman, you got like a bigger ass, or if you're a guy and you got like, you look pretty good, and then he's like, buy my program.
Yep.
And that's how easy it is now. So you don't actually have to go into the gym and do your qualification. So my thing is like entrepreneurs and these other high level people, they deserve a coach that actually has their interests in mind, because it's so easy. And I've seen it before. I've seen it with people in the gym, and I've seen it online a lot. Is they're like they're an easy target, because not all entrepreneurs, because obviously you have to build it, you have to work, and a lot of entrepreneurs might not have as much income or wealth than someone that's working a 9-to-5 job, but obviously the goal is to build it up. But a lot of entrepreneurs are obviously very successful, so they're easy targets, and that's why I'm trying to reach out my message and try to help these people, because they're people after all, and they do some amazing things and help out the world and that sort of stuff. I don't want to get too very into it, but that's it in a nutshell, is that they still deserve a coach that has their best interests in heart, which is not often the case with a lot of coaches that work with this type of person.
I love it. So how do people find out more information? Speaking of that, let's get you some more clients that, if we can, help some more people, not get you some more clients, but help some more people.
Success stories, I call them.
Right. We want success stories. How do they get more information about the Paradigm Project from you, follow you on LinkedIn and all that? Give me that kind of spiel there.
Yeah. Well, they can check me on Instagram, which is Coach Mark Gray, which is the same for just Instagram. Yeah, I don't really bother with the other ones. And LinkedIn, yeah, I'm trying to get more into LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn years ago, but I am trying to focus more on LinkedIn at the moment and try to provide more kind of deeper content, which you can do more on LinkedIn because you can just talk more. It's not all about catchy videos that try to hook the person in as you do on Instagram.
Right.
And that's just my name, just Mark Gray. I think, yeah. And my website, which is actually just been finished this week because I've redoing it.
Nice.
It's just a paradigmproject.uk, and there's some bits and pieces on there. I've also got like some helpful tools, like free resources on there as well for people. It's in my Instagram as well. Like got a free guide for entrepreneurs. It took me like 3 months to make. It's packed with stuff. Anyone can use it. It helps you on your training, your sleep, nutrition. There's mindset stuff in there. There's some workout stuff. Just action packed. Loads of apps, tech, nutrition, subs. So that's there for anyone to check out if they want it. And that's awesome. And then Instagram or LinkedIn as well, is that it says on my LinkedIn, like my DMs are always open for questions and advice, and same goes for Instagram as well. As our doors are always open just for a chat if anyone's got any questions they need answered or help with anything at all, health and fitness related.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on board, and I look forward to connecting again.
No, it was awesome. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yes.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.